Remington Podcast, where we take a deep dive into all things ammunition. I'm your host, Audrey Mayes, and today we are talking about 16 gauge, and I'm here with Head of Research and Development, Jon Langenfeld.
How you doing, everybody?
And Shot Shell Product Line Manager, Ronnie Evans.
Hello.
These guys both sling some shotguns. So, what is your connection with the 16 gauge?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, I own one. It was an inherited gun, a couple generations. Great grandfather owned it. And so I used to take it out a little bit when I was younger, because it's an older pump shotgun that's got an external hammer on it, because I thought it was neat, and I'd roam around the farm, shooting birds with it, stuff like that. But other than that, I haven't used a 16 gauge in years. Most of the stuff, clay shooting, competition, or even most of my hunting today, even though you could use it, or I could use it, I tend to use, more modern firearms. So if I was going to use a 16 today, I'd probably buy a new gun, just to have, since that one's just kind of old and I wouldn't want to get it screwed up or anything and, fall in the mud, or, somebody run it over with the side by side and bend the barrel on it. Cause
there you'd be.
But other than that, what about you, Ronnie?
So I don't own a 16 gauge. I've got a brother who owns one. He owns an old Savage that's built on the Browning patent. It's cool. He had it redone, and it's a good looking old gun. But I don't personally own one. But I've looked at several of the Browning Sweet 16s, the new ones they've built, and they've got one called an Ultimate that's kind of pushed toward the bird hunting line, and it's really light. It's a beautiful shotgun. Then they make some camouflage models and things that too. So, but it's just it's an old gauge. It's been around for a long time, and you've heard about them my whole life. 16 gauge just always been there.
Yeah. I don't have any personal connection with the 16 gauge. I just am really intrigued by it because you hear about sub gauges.
Sure.
But in like skeet shooting, like you said earlier, there's 20, 28, and 410.
And 12.
And 12, right. But sub gauges, right? So you skip right over the 16, and I think that's rude. That's
probably one of the reasons why it maybe not be as popular as it could have been, because when the Skeet Association decided these are the gauges we're going to use, they left 16 out. So it's just 12, 20, 28, and 410. So that could have been a big influence on that gauge, right? So
yeah.
Well, and from a hunting standpoint, when you look at when all the shell lengths were 2.5 or 2 3/4, you had 16 that filled a gap.
Yep.
Between the 20 and the 12. And when you come out with 3-inch 20, you've essentially duplicated the performance of the 16 gauge.
Definitely so. Yep.
And so if you've got a 20 gauge gun, now you can throw your 3-inch shells in there, once they came out with the guns and everything. Kind of like with 10 gauge, 12 gauge, 3.5 inch. Why do I need a 10 gauge anymore? Bigger gun, that sort of thing. So that didn't help it, from filling that gap and it having kind of a unique place within the different gauges to have performance differentiation.
And we do a little research before we come on these podcasts, obviously. Does anyone know when the 16 gauge was made?
Well, trying to find what I found, it was just, there was never just a good date, right? It was 1800s, it says 18 to 1900s. Well, that's 100 years of difference there, right? So it's been around for quite some time. Obviously, I'm with Jon here. What makes sense to me, it was built to fill a need, because at the time everything was 2 3/4 before Magnums come along. So, a 2 3/4 inch 20 gauge is going to be around 7/8 ounce loads, right? A 12 gauge is going to be 1 1/8 ounce, 1 1/4 maybe in hunting loads. Well, the 16 gauge popular weight for a hunting round is 1 1/8 ounce. So it kind of filled the gap between the 12 and 20 for guys who wanted more shot, maybe going after a little bigger bird or something than what you would with a 20 gauge at the time. Right. So I think it was obviously built to fill that gap between the 12 and the 20 because of payload.
Right.
Yeah, and probably the frame of the gun, kind of like you talked about before.
Yes.
I can get away with a little bit lighter gun, smaller frame gun, less steel, all that, with a slightly smaller shell.
Yep.
And so I don't have to, shoot a light load in a 12 gauge. I've still got a 12 gauge gun.
Yes.
So you can have a little bit more compact firearm as well.
Still good for like the full grown adult.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
we're not talking, like youth gun, like mini, but just a little bit smaller. Yeah, a little bit less weight.
12 gauge light.
12 gauge light.
Right. It's 12 gauge light.
I like that. So what do you think, because it was left out of the skeet world, and now we have 20 gauge, 28 gauge, other things that kind of fill the hunting world. What do you think has kept it around?
just people still owning guns.
Sure.
And it has a little nostalgia to it that, it's like with some of these rifle cartridges you see that some people have kept around forever and ever. It's like, why do they keep that? Like a 30-40 Kreg. Sure. Something like that. So the 16 gauge has just always had a following. And they like the gun and they want to keep it alive. So we make ammo for it, and gun manufacturers will come out with a new gun or a new version of it from time to time. Remington made several 1100s over the years with it. Browning still makes them to this day, brand new. You can buy. I'm sure there's others. Those are those are the ones I'm most familiar with.
Sure.
But I'm sure there's others. But it's just a cool cartridge, and people just want to keep it alive.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of people around, Remington Historical Society people, for example. Like, they just love that old stuff.
Oh, they love it. Eat it up.
Just want to keep the tradition alive.
Yep.
What is a 16 gauge, like, by definition?
So if you take the bore diameter, 0.662, it takes 16 lead balls of that diameter to equal a pound.
That's how you measure gauge. Okay.
So 12 gauge. I don't know the bore diameter off the top of my head, but whatever that bore diameter is, take a round lead ball of that diameter, takes 12 of them to equal a pound.
Gotcha.
So therefore, when you think of why does the gauge number, if we say 28 gauge, it's a higher number than a 12 gauge, but it's a smaller bore. Well, you got smaller lead balls, so it takes more
to get to the pound.
To equal a pound.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
Okay. Never knew that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yep.
That's a good little fun fact. He was quizzing us before this podcast started if we knew what it was, and none
I had
of
no
us
idea
could pull
how
it
that
out.
got there, but I know now.
I was excited for that question. And we load a lot of stuff. There's 16 gauge loads for everything. You can still shoot it to break clays. You can still shoot it for turkey and for. What is some stuff, Ronnie, that we load in 16?
Well, we do make a slug for it, so you can deer hunt with it, or use it, I guess, for personal defense, or take a bear with it, right? But we make a slug. It's 7/8 ounce slug, so it's almost an ounce, right? So we also have Express XLR, which to me is the best all around shot shell that we manufacture, right? We have it in 3 loads. We have it in a 4, 6, and a 7.5. So the 4, if a guy was adventurous, or the 6, he could use that turkey hunting. But for sure, that'd be a good pheasant load. If a guy shoots shotgun squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, those would be really good rounds. The 7.5 and Express XLR, ounce and an 1/8, be excellent for doves, right? Quail, be perfect for that. We do have 2 nitro steel loads. We have a 2 and a 4, so you could take them duck hunting, right? Or if you hunt in some areas where you have to use non-toxic shot, you still have that ability. Obviously, those steel loads are probably best used in some newer stuff than really old 16 gauge, so keep that in mind also.
Yeah, just watch your chokes.
Yep, watch your chokes. Yeah, you're really trying to constrict steel loads, it'll ruin your choke tube pretty good. So,
or your barrel if it ain't got a.
Or if it's fixed choke. Yeah, most times.
Because they're older.
Yes, a large majority of them is going to be fixed choke,
barrels,
so that's not cool. That's not going to be good. We do have some game loads, it's 1 ounce stuff at 7.5 and 8, which would actually be good for dove or anything like that too. We do have a pheasant load, which is a number 6, ounce and 8 shot of that is $12.95, so it's moving pretty good. But we have a new load coming out, so we're excited about that, and it will be the first Remington round that I'm aware of. Some historians will be here this week, could probably tell me different, but it's going to have a purple hull. Why purple hull? I think it's just cool. Right? So let's think about it. Industry standard for a 20 gauge is yellow. Well, the 16 gauge group is their own little group. For whatever you want to call it, there's a good following with them.
It's like a personality.
Why not make them all purple?
Oh, yeah. Well,
right?
Yeah.
So we're doing some things different now, maybe what we used to in the past. And so I won't spill out too much, but we do have a new load coming out this next year, and the 16 gauge version of this new load will have a purple hull, and we will probably over time slowly transition all of our stuff to purple hulls just because I like purple hull. I think it works good with the nostalgia of the 16 gauge and that group, and I think it's a cool deal.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think most people who shoot a 16 gauge on a regular basis, they all kind of are similar, right? They all like that, like you said, nostalgic thing.
Yep.
And the only 16 gauge shell I've ever seen has been purple.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we make them in green and black is the main of the colors that we do. Is
Okay.
The regular Remington green or the black shell like we use in our pheasant loads or game loads is black. But we're going to slowly, over time, we'll transition to purple.
Sure.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, people, it's not boring. When you look at different colors of shells or cartridges or things, some of the guys in my group, they love nickel-plated rifle cartridges. Just because they like it. It's pretty. It's, but you'll see consumers in the store, and one of the first things they usually do is they open a box of shells.
What's it look like?
They take them out and they look at them, and you want to like the way it looks.
Sure.
And I know shotgun shooters who, and they know at the end of the day, it don't matter performance-wise, whatever. But like look at Gun Club Cure, for example, the Tiffany blue, kind of turquoise color that we use there. I know people that would buy those over Gun Club just because they like the color.
Because the color's different. Sure.
So, it kind of goes along those same lines.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, people who shoot, especially people who shoot a lot. Anything that you can get customized, they're like, that's what I want.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It just has its own little thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
I really, for some reason, when I think 16 gauge, I'm like, small game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like it'd be a good rabbit gun.
Oh, I think it'd be
Maybe
perfect
you're hunting over dogs or something.
Heck yeah.
Down in the South.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it's number 6, that's ounce and an eighth, number 6 Express SLR.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, and that 16 gauge would be catch me out. Yep. I think that would be an excellent guy that rabbit hunts. I think that would be perfect for that.
Yeah, and I love those Express XLRs, so can't really.
Oh yeah, that is. Again, I've said it, and I'll say it again. And I'll say it 100 times more. To me, that is the best all-around shotgun shell we manufacture. It has such a wide variety of usage because there's so many different loads, with so many different gauges, so many different weights, so many different. I mean, there's just so much you can do with that product line.
It's almost like Core-Loctive rifle.
It really is. Totally
it's
agree.
That bread and butter, green and yellow, do it all. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, we've got it from a 2-shot all the way up to. We used to have some 9s. We don't have any 9s. We have a 7.5 now. So we're from 2-shot to 7.5s, multiple gauges, different weights. Most in 12 gauge is going to be ounce and quarter stuff. I don't think we have ounce and 3/8 anymore, but it covers a lot of different variations, and it's really good shot shell.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I wanted to do a podcast episode about 16 gauge is because of that nostalgia, and I feel like it feels very Remington to me. Like I feel like, a lot of people have their Remington stories. Like everyone I talk to has a Remington story, whether it be from the guns or the 22 shells or core locked, right? But I feel like everyone also has a 16 gauge shotgun story.
There's a bunch out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, John, you were telling us earlier about this weird 16 gauge shotgun that you had. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I mean, it was my great grandfather's gun. It's a Marlin pump with external hammer on it. Just inherited down the line. I've kept it. Got a 12 gauge like it too, but the 16 gauge, you can tell it's a slightly smaller frame. Again, an older gun. For that time period, that was common. So yeah, it's just neat. You don't see guns made like that today. No. All steel. It ain't got plastic and aluminum and all that kind of stuff on it.
Steel and wood.
Fixed choke. My grandfather's brother, like I said, he was a big firearms collector. And even though he had way more guns than what he ever used, he only used like 2 or 3 out of all the ones that he had. And when he would pack a shotgun, of course, he lived in Illinois, but he would shoot, when he shoot slugs, he had a Sweet 16 Browning with a deer barrel. And then if he was using shot, he had a French-made side-by-side 16 gauge, had a straight grip on it, little leather sling, and that was kind of his favorite gun. He liked the balance, the feel, the weight of it, had plenty of power to do what he wanted it to do. But he was also, we can talk about nostalgia. In his era, that was common, and so as time went on and you had different shell lengths, 3-inch and magnums and 3.5s and all that kind of stuff. He didn't keep going with that. He stayed in that era. And with rifles, he was just kind of the same way. He was a standard rifle guy, like 270, 280, 30-06. I think he owned 1 Magnum,
wow.
And I think out of all the ones that he had, 100 plus firearms, I think one of them was synthetic. Everything else was
wood.
Blued, steel, and wood.
That's right.
Side by sides, revolvers, lever actions, and bolt actions. He liked carbine length, but I think it was like a 17. He'd shoot crows with it or something. But yeah, so, I mean, the 16 gauge just kind of speaks nostalgia, and you use it because you enjoy using it. It means something when you're out there, whether in your duck blind or walking through the upland field, the gun that you're hunting with, and not everybody's that way. I know friends of mine that they love to hunt and that they're just hunters. They could care less what they're using as long as it's a reliable tool.
Yep.
The gun, it goes bang when they squeeze the trigger and all that stuff. And then I know guys that are on the complete opposite end. They're just gunny and they don't really hunt. But I think for me, and people that go select the 16s because they get enjoyment out of using that particular firearm. And it just wouldn't be the same if it was a 12 or 20. It means something to have the 16 and then be able to use it in the hunting field at the same time. So that's why we still make that ammo.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen the sub-gauge market as a whole just go crazy, right? So 410s, my Lord, we still can't make enough of them. You've seen companies start building the 3-inch 28 gauge, and 20 gauge has gotten more popular over time, and it just kind of stands to reason why maybe 16. Why not 16?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's what I should be saying. But why not 16? If the 28 gauge, if we can make a 3-inch, then that, why not?
Yeah, it's not like we need it.
Right. It wasn't like we needed it, but they
know,
did it. So why can't you make a 3-inch 16?
Y'all, we do not work in an industry that fills needs. Okay. Do we need 16 different rifle calibers?
Yes.
No.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Oh, yes.
But
maybe we need a 3-inch 16 gauge, right? So who knows?
I think,
yeah, I think so. But no, that's the cool thing about our industry is we're in the stuff that people love to do.
Yeah.
Right. So, we get to talk to our consumers and things. I've been asked by a consumer before, hey, why didn't you make a 16 gauge 3-inch? Well, hadn't been much call for one or heard much one, but who knows what's coming out.
Right.
Right. You got to get the right people involved and it could happen. But that's what happened with the 28. There's a gun manufacturer say, hey, I want to do this. And they hollered at some ammo manufacturers. Next thing you know, here it is. Bam. So, just the sub gauge as a whole, I think, because 12 gauge dominates, right? 12 gauge is the shotgun bore of everything. But I know guys that guide and hunt in timber that's real close, and all they shoot 20 gauge now, right? Matter of fact, Echo.
Yep.
Them guys, they just they want 20 gauge ammo. That's all they shoot, and all they do is duck hunt, but they want 20 gauge. So the sub gauge has come on; it's getting more popular, and a lot of that has to do with technology of us manufacturing ammo. We're going faster speeds, better patterns. Then you're also seeing more gun manufacturers paying attention to that product line as far as 20 gauge shot shell guns. We've already said Browning is dead set on keeping that 16 gauge alive because somebody's telling them we'll buy them and they're selling them. So the sub gauge is real.
Right.
Right. It'll never mount up to what a 12 gauge is. But it's a market that we have to pay attention to, and 16 falls in that line.
Yeah, I almost feel like we're falling off of the, I need the biggest, baddest, heaviest, kicking, loudest gun gauge caliber around.
It used to be that way, but I think you're seeing it shrink a little bit. There's always the customer who wants the biggest and heaviest and loudest and hardest he can get, right? But then there's other guys who don't. He just wants something to perform. So you have guys that just want 2 3/4 inch shells, and you got guys who wants 3.5. So we got to offer them. We got to offer the whole thing,
right?
To get all of our customers, but that's just part of the deal.
Yeah, I think especially as people shoot more, and like you said, that technology gets better.
Oh yeah,
you don't really need those big umphs to get the job done anymore.
No, you can use different types of shot and things like that, and get better patterns and be just as lethal.
Yeah,
not just by pure velocity and payload, just run and gun kind of thing. You can be a little bit smarter about it.
Right.
Well, just wad. We've changed wads over the years. We've maybe got better at manufacturing shot, and what always astounds me is when we talk about when we're building new shot shell, and talk about all the different burn speeds of powders and things that they didn't have a long time ago. We have them now, right? So by having those types of knobs to turn, there's a lot of different things you can do with a shotgun shell you couldn't do for years ago.
The velocity of loads 30 years ago.
Oh yeah,
they weren't even what they are today.
Nope.
Just because of wad materials, propellants, things like that.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I love working at Remington, because I feel like we do a lot of taking the nostalgic stuff and bringing that with us into the future.
Oh yeah, we can't lose that DNA of what we are.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Those 16 gauge guys out there, like they're the Remington guys. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they like the 16 because some reason it left an imprint on them at some time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if it's 16 gauge or not, but I think I remember hearing somebody at a duck club where it was like on a particular weekend or a particular day, like that was all they used was like a sub gauge, whether it was 28s or it was, like you could even have a sporting clays event and it was like, hey, we're going to do this at Remington. It's a 16 gauge event only. Or, sure, you used to see that at the Grand American. I don't know if they still do it or not, but they'd have a 28 gauge event. Yeah. So just to kind of continue to drive some usage of the stuff.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the National Sporting Clay shoot, they have a side-by-side shoot and they have a pump gun shoot.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just that category, and you have to shoot. It's a nostalgic setup for that deal. So it's what people like with what they want.
Yeah, get your side-by-side 16 out with some paper shells. And
yeah, buddy. That's old school as it gets right there. That's short of loading it from the muzzle.
Yeah, it is. Well, I know that we're pretty committed here to keeping that 16 gauge alive.
Oh, yeah.
So.
No, it's not going anywhere. I think, if anything, it's probably gained a little traction a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ronnie, if you were going to go buy a new 16 gauge and go on a hunt, what kind of a hunt would you think that you would take that on?
Oh, it's got pheasant rolled all over it.
All over it, huh?
Yep, pheasant or grouse, right? Something like that.
So you're doing upland, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to take upland. And I think probably after that, that rabbit gun.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I think those, to me, is what that gun, that's where it falls to me.
I've never hunted rabbits with dogs. I've always wanted to, and I think I'm going to need me a new 16 gauge and go and try it.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
You ever hunted with dogs at all? Like that? Running rabbits?
Not like chasing. No, I haven't.
Oh, man. It's exciting
stuff. Is it
stuff.
fun?
Yeah. So you get out on a hunt. We used to hunt deer that way years ago too. But,
deer runs or something.
Oh
right?
man! But when you have a pack of dogs and you're standing waiting and watching and looking and they're coming right at you, it's different than sitting in a deer stand or something like that. It's whatever they're pushing is running straight at you.
Yeah.
Right. So you're looking and it's an exciting thing. It's a lot of fun.
I can't imagine the sounds.
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh yeah. I hunted rabbits one time with a guy that had beagles.
Oh yeah, man.
And I mean, as most people do that hunt with dogs, they like to hunt with dogs. They like the dog part
dog
of
people.
it, the aspect of it. But to hear the dogs, the way that their bark, whatever, when they got on scent of that rabbit, it would change.
Yes, sir.
You could tell that, and and it was just like I said, that was part of the hunt itself, was to watch the dogs how they worked and everything else. So yeah, it's just a different way of hunting. Well, I know, talking about taking dog hunting to another level. There's people in Africa that hunt leopards with dogs.
Oh yeah, that's a different level.
Yeah,
that's got to be scary. Oh. I mean, like really cool and like once in a lifetime, get your heart beating in your ears. But
sure. Well, out in the West, they hunt mountain lions with dogs too, like that too. So that'd be a similar chase, I would think, right?
My deal is that I know they're out there. Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
So you're talking about dogs. I'm gonna give you some Southern education here. Talk about, because we've had dogs. You'll hear there'll be a dog that's there sniffing around. They want to bark a little bit. We call that he's opening.
Okay.
He's opening. He's getting a smell. But all of a sudden, when everybody just boom, that's called jumping.
Opening and jumping.
They have got a good trail. They know it's hot trail, and every dog in the group has got it, and they're all barking. That's when the race is on at that point, right? But you'll hear one just bark out every once in a while. He'll bark. He's getting a scent. He's reporting, hey, I'm getting something. And all of a sudden it's just all of them flip a switch. That's what it's called, a jump.
Okay,
it's neat.
Yep. That is.
There'll
neat.
be some guys watch this, some old guys see this. They'll know exactly what he said. He's right, and it's a lot of fun. It's hunting with dogs is fun anyway. I like to watch a good lab work, a good bird dog. It's
people still hunt
awesome.
raccoons out here with hounds.
Oh yeah,
don't they?
they'll tree coons.
Yeah.
They sure will.
My grandfather hunted foxes With,
we had
with black and tan hounds, big floppy eared.
Yeah.
You know, he packed a side by side 10 gauge hammer gun.
Oh yeah.
And you know, kind of circling back, getting off topic, but he shot a lot of 2 7/8 inch lead, and I've still got some of his ammo for that gun that were Remington. I don't know that they were XLR at the time, but it was just maybe Express.
It was Express. I bet you back
Green
then.
and yellow box.
Yep.
With white top wads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've still got those.
Oh, that's
That is
old,
cool.
old, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about nostalgic things. That's what a 16 gauge is. It falls into the guy that run dogs.
Right.
Right. It's that time. We've got, slow but surely we've transitioned from that for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean it just all falls in line with that
Goes
stuff.
in the same conversation.
I'm glad I got to experience that.
Yeah.
My kids will never see that because we just don't hunt like that no more.
Correct. Yeah.
But it was some fun, exciting times.
Yeah. I know, and we just fall into that conversation because, like you said, 16 gauge and hunting in that old style, they just go together.
It just all rolls together. It's like 30-30 falls in there.
Yep.
The lever gun, you know, it's, God knows how many deer they've killed with 30-30s.
Oh yeah. I don't. Have you ever read The Old Man and the Boy by Robert Rourke?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
So there you go. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm sitting here thinking like the bacon frying. You know, we're getting up. The dogs are getting ready. Got my plaid shirt on. But,
yeah.
You know that. Yeah. That's what's going through my mind sitting here talking about nostalgia and hunting and that sort of thing.
That's funny because my brain goes to where the red fern grows.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like same playing level though.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So, John, if you're going to reach for a 16 gauge, what are you taking it to do?
You know, I mean, if I were going to use the gun that I've got, you know, it would probably be very similar to what Ronnie said. I'm not going to shoot steel through it because to be honest, I don't remember what choke is in it, but it's, you know, it's just an older gun. So I'm not probably going to take it on a waterfowl hunt, but I'd probably take it on a dove hunt if I wanted to use it. So upland, you know, if I were going to waterfowl hunt with a 16 gauge because I wanted to, for me personally, I'd probably go buy some kind of a modern, you know, modern
newer one,
find a Remington or something like that.
Yeah.
If I was a hardcore waterfowl hunter and just wanted to use a 16, but yeah, I think I'm go to the nostalgic. If I was going to go hunt up an old gun, it'd probably be a side by side.
Yeah,
I think the over and under is just, I don't know. That's just too modern for the 16. Find a side by side, and there you go. Pack it along with
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean,
you know the word Sweet 16. That's something I read on this. It got its name. Parker built a side by side back in the day. That was a 16, and it was a little light gun. They called it the Sweet 16 is what they called it back in the day. It was just slang. They didn't actually put it on the gun like Browning does. But it was a nickname for the 16 gauge back in the day because it was a smaller framed, lighter gun than what the 12 gauge was.
Oh,
but
so
I think
Browning
it was Parker. It was Parker who built the gun, but they just got the name 16. I don't think they ever put it on the gun, but that's just what people called it.
Yeah, nicknamed it.
It was a nickname. It got put on the 16 gauge back in the day.
Oh, gotcha. And Browning just kind of coined that.
I'm assuming.
Okay.
You know, I've seen a Sweet 16. Like heck, they was building things back in the 50s.
Oh yeah.
You know that off the A5. So, and it might have been older than that. Somebody could tell me different, but it's just this. When you think Sweet 16, though, you think a Browning A5. That's what everybody thinks.
100%. Yeah.
You know, that's really what it is.
You don't even have to say Browning A5. You can be like, I got a Sweet 16.
Well, they know what it is.
Browning. Yeah.
Yep. But I was reading that was back old, and it was a Parker side by side.
Wow.
Before they kind of kicked that around.
Yeah. Well, any last thoughts about 16 gauge?
Just keep it alive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Right?
Yeah.
Just keep it alive. It's relevant. It's not as big as, you know, it has like I said, we've got 9 SKUs with a 10th coming. We support the shotgun gauge, but just keep it alive. People keep buying 16 gauges and keep the old stuff going. That's cool.
Yeah, we love
neat.
tradition here at Remington.
Oh, yeah. That's what we are.
Well, there you have it, guys. Remington is on the rise. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this podcast with your hunting or shooting buddies. If you have any questions for me, or Ronnie or John here, you can email us at podcast@remington.com. Thanks for listening.
Woo.
There
you go.
That was good.